It's June, and if you've started thinking about your summer travel, you pretty much know what's going to happen. You go to book one hotel, and half an hour later, you've got 10 tabs open. That's definitely how it used to be for me. I would open Google Flights or Kayak to compare flights, and then I'd look up some best things to do articles, and then I'd look up the reviews for different hotels and Airbnbs. That's the spiral, right? Lots of research, lots of tabs, and pretty soon it's frustrating and it feels like so much work, even though you know that the fun will happen later. It's just that there's so much to do outside of planning the itinerary, like renewing the kids' passports and TSA pre-check. Not to mention, you still have to feed everyone and work. And it's summer. It'd be nice to have just a few hours to escape into a book every once in a while, right? But what if, before you opened a single tab on your computer, you started with the one thing you already know? You know why you're taking this trip. Maybe it's the first real vacation you've taken in a couple of years, or maybe it's about reconnecting with the family, or just getting everyone away from the daily routine for a while. Well, what I want to talk about today is how to let that why run the show and drive the planning, and how Claude AI can help with that if you use it the right way. In fact, I'm even going to give you my full prompt that you can paste into your Claude to do it. Welcome back to Organizing for Beautiful Living. I'm Z Siman, the Choosy Organizer, and this is the podcast for working women who are done organizing everything and who are ready to be choosy about what matters, what's enough, and what can wait. This is episode 115, and today I'd love for you to walk away with 5 things that are simple enough to do before you even open up the prompt that I'm going to give you, but that will make your results a whole lot more useful. And these 5 things will save you redoing and starting over when you suddenly remember a detail that you need to add to the trip that changes everything. All right, let's get into it. So first, start where I always start, and that's with clarity. Now, most of us, when we sit down to plan a trip, we go straight to the logistics, right? What are the dates? Where can we afford to stay? What flights are available? And you do need to figure those things out eventually, but you already know why this trip matters to you. The problem is that it usually stays in your head as a feeling, maybe not something that you've written down or said out loud. And yet, that why is the thing that will keep you on track, especially once you're 3 tabs deep reading about the amazing side trip you should take that would make your trip unforgettable, right? So before any of that logistic stuff, just say it, name it. What would make this trip actually feel successful to you? Maybe it's rest. You want to come home more rested than when you left, which, if you've ever come back from a trip more exhausted than when you started, you know that's not an automatic thing. We've all laughingly said, "Oh, I need a vacation from my vacation," right? But maybe that's not the type of trip you want right now. So be clear about that. Or maybe it's connection. You want real time with your kids before they're off to college, or with your parents while everyone's still healthy enough to travel together. Or maybe it's just exploring somewhere new, and the whole point is the newness of it all. This matters for how you use a tool like Claude. If you know the trip is about rest, and someone, even an AI, hands you a packed itinerary with 3 activities a day, you'll recognize right away that it just doesn't fit. But if you skip this step, you'll be readjusting all over again, or you'll just take whatever you're given because you don't have anything to check it against. So that's the first thing. Take a few minutes, name what this trip is actually for, and keep that in mind because it's going to shape everything else that you do. The second thing you need is to understand what AI is actually good at right now when it comes to travel and what it isn't. You've probably heard someone say, "Oh, I asked AI to find me the cheapest flight, and you won't believe what it found." But unfortunately, as awesome as that would be to just type that into your AI chat and have it give you the flights you should take. It's just not how this works. AI tools don't have a live connection to flight prices. What they're working from is a snapshot, information that was true at some point, but maybe not the price that's sitting on the airline's website right now. In fact, the airlines actively manage their websites to not allow scraping their dynamic pricing like that. So if you ask for the cheapest flight somewhere, you might get back a confident sounding number that just isn't accurate anymore, simply because these tools don't have access to live pricing data. Okay. So instead of treating AI like an all knowing tool, treat it like a thinking partner that helps you to process things. Let me give you an example just to make this concrete. And this is just an illustration. Okay. Say you've found a vacation rental online and you've got the listing open. So you can paste that link into Claude and ask about the place itself. What's the layout like? Does it sound like it'd work for a family with little kids? What do the reviews say about the neighborhood? That's something that AI can actually do well because it's reading something that's right there in front of it the same way that you would. Or it could help you find various reviews from different sites for you to look through and gather. What it can't do is tell you whether that listing is still available or what it'll actually cost by the time you book, or if the reviews are real. For that, you still need to go to the source and use your own judgment. Once you understand that distinction, AI becomes a lot more useful. Not for finding deals necessarily, right? But for helping you think through the options, organize what you're finding, summarize what you're seeing, and ask questions that you might not have thought to ask. The third thing is to think about privacy as just one more part of trip planning because you're allowing all the details of this trip you're planning to be on Claude's servers. If you're being thoughtful about what this trip is for, well, that same thoughtfulness should apply to how you handle the information about it, right? And this isn't meant to be a scary technical topic. It's just being choosy, the same way we're choosy about everything else. So, two quick things here. First, most AI tools have a setting that controls whether your conversations can be used to improve the underlying AI model. And many AI platforms also offer a private or incognito mode for individual chats. You need to know that those settings exist, and you should definitely take a minute to check them the same way you'd look at the privacy settings on any new app. And make sure that you've said no to using your conversations to improve the model. And just think about what a real trip planning document tends to contain things like your home address, the exact dates you'll be away, and sometimes details about your kids, like their ages or their school schedules. Put those together in one place, and what you've actually created is a document that says, here's where we live, here's exactly when no one will be home, and here's who lives here. That's information you do not want available online anywhere, right? And that's true whether that information is in an AI chat, a shared document, or a printed itinerary on your desk at work for anyone to see. It's like you've left the key to your front door along with your address for anyone to access. And that's a big no no. Planning information is also security information, and we need to treat it that way. So don't put your home address or any personally identifiable information into the AI. It just means being more careful. And that's the whole idea. Being intentional about your trip includes being intentional about where the information that describes all the details of the trip is going. And the prompt that I'm giving you will open with that exact reminder. So you'll see it again when you sit down to start. It'll be a reminder to go in and turn that off. The fourth thing is to build in a little verification as a habit anytime you use AI. So say you ask an AI tool to help you estimate the cost of your trip, and it gives you back, like I said, a really confident looking total number, $2,400, broken down by category, the kind of thing that looks like great research. But as we know, AI is not mistake proof. It can make up data to make you happy. And if that total that it gave you was built by guessing at flight prices or looking at historical flight prices, guessing at hotel rates, and guessing at food costs. That's probably worse than having no number at all, because a missing number tells you to go find out, but a confident wrong number is a major problem in your planning. So the habit is simple. Treat anything that AI gives you as a starting point. It's a first draft to check against the actual source before you build your final true plan around it. Okay. And the fifth thing is to plan for who's actually coming on this trip. It sounds obvious, but it's easy for AI suggestions or really any generic travel advice to default to an average traveler. So if you've got really young kids or an older parent joining you or anyone with special mobility needs or dietary restrictions, you want those details to matter. They need to be in your plan. How much walking a day is realistic? Whether a place has stairs? How long anyone can comfortably sit in a car? So when you're using AI to help plan, you have to give it that real picture. You give it ages, not names, just the ages, any specific needs, and what a realistic day looks like for your group. Accessibility information online, whether it's from AI or just a website, is often out of date. So if that matters for your trip, just make sure to double check that information that's online is actually current. And don't worry, the prompt that I'm giving you actually asks you this directly right up front. So just have those details in mind: ages, any needs, and how many people, and so on. Okay. So those are the 5 things. Pretty easy, right? Make sure you're clear on why this trip matters before you start researching. Treat AI like a thinking partner, not a crystal ball for all the prices. Be sure to keep your trip details as private as you'd keep your house key. Double check the numbers and facts and opening and closing times and things like that that can change from time to time. And AI might not keep up with it. And then make sure that your plan takes into account who's coming with you. Now, if that feels like a lot to keep track of, don't worry. I've built all of it into one prompt for you. It's a prompt that I actually have been using myself. You can go to the show notes or to fireflybridge.com/AI travel plan to grab the one prompt trip planner. You'll download it and then you just copy the whole thing, paste it into a new Claude chat, and it takes it from there. It'll interview you to get your details, like who's traveling, what kind of trip you're after, your budget, and everything else that it needs to know. And once you've answered its questions, it researches the holidays for you and events happening during those dates, builds out a full day-by-day itinerary with real named places. It puts together a logistics checklist, and it sets up a budget worksheet for you to fill in once you've verified all the real numbers. So it's at fireflybridge.com/AI travel plan, or you'll find the link in the show notes. So I hope that that helps you to remove some of the load of planning a holiday from your shoulders this summer. And if you haven't used Claude or AI in general for doing things like this, I hope this is a good starting point for you, as long as you understand the limitations and security concerns associated with AI, and you make informed decisions about how you want to use it. Have a beautifully organized week and a really good trip whenever yours is happening. I'm Z, and I'll see you on the next episode.